So is this the question? It says that Helen and Ivan had the same number of coins. Helen had a number of 50-cent coins and 64 20-cent coins. These coins had a mass of 1.134 kilogram. Ivan had a number of 50-cent coins and 104 20-cent coins. Who has more money in coins and by how much? B, given that each 50-cent coin is 2.7 grams more heavier than a 20-cent coin, what is the mass of Ivan coins in kilograms? So for this kind of question, right, when you see this kind of question in exam, right, do not fret, do not be anxious. What you can do is to read the question carefully, and what you can do is to draw the model. So here you have Helen and Ivan. Helen had 20-cent coins, so you have to draw a model. You show Helen, H for Helen, I for Ivan. So Helen, right, had a number of 50-cent coins. So this is Helen 50-cent coins and 64 20-cent coins. 64 20-cent coins, and they have the same number of coins. Okay. Then these coins had the mass of 1.134. Okay. Ivan had a number of 50-cent coins and 104 20-cent coins. Okay, you think for a moment, right? 104, right? So Ivan has 104 20-cent coins, right? So 104 minus 64 is equal to 40. So in other words, here you have 64 20-cent coins and 40. So here you have 40 50-cent coins. Okay. Then the question is asking, right, who has more money in coins and by how much? So from here you observe, right, you can see that Ivan had a certain number of 50-cent coins here, and Helen has more than 40 50-cent coins. Okay, let's call this 1 unit. So Helen would have 1 unit plus 40. And Ivan would have 1 unit of 50-cent coins and 64 20-cent coins. I mean 104 20-cent coins. Okay, from this, right, when you minus off the 64 20-cent coins, right, okay, Helen would have 1 unit plus 40 50-cent coins, and Ivan would have 1 unit of 50-cent coins and 40 20-cent coins. Okay, if you compare here, right, if I minus off the 1 unit 50-cent coins, right, so basically Helen has 40 50-cent coins and Ivan has 40 20-cent coins as the comparison. Because if I were to minus my 1 unit of 50 cent, right, So the eventual difference is what? Helen has 40, 50 cents minus 20 cents more. That is 40 times 30 cents. Okay, so 40 times 30 cents is 1,200 cents. And that is $12. So Helen will have $12 more. Okay, who has more money? Helen has more money. Okay, Helen will have more money because she has more 50 cents, more number of 50 cents coins. And Ivan has 1 unit of 50 cent coins. Helen has 1 unit plus 40 50 cent coins. So Helen has 40 50 cent coins more than Ivan. But you cannot use 40 times 50 cents. You have to use 40 times the difference between a 50 cent and 20 cents. So Helen has more. How much? $12 more. Okay, so part A clear, right? Part B, given that each 50 cent coin is 2.7 gram, more heavier than a 20 cent coin, what is the mass of Ivan's coins in kilograms? Okay, these coins had a mass of 1.134 kilogram. This one means, right, the total weight of all the coins. Okay, let me read the question again. Helen and Ivan had the same number of coins. Helen had a number of 50 cent coins and 64 20 cent coins. These coins had a mass of 1.134 kilogram. So in other words, Helen, right, the amount of coins she has, right? So Helen's coins, right? Helen's coin weigh 1.134 kilogram. Okay. And Helen has 40, because just now you minus off 1 unit 50 cent, 1 unit 50 cent, 64 20 cent, 64 20 cent. Helen has 40 more 50 cents. Okay, 40 50 cent coins versus Ivan 40 20 cent coins. So the difference between 50 cent and 20 cent is 2.7 gram. So 40 multiplied by the difference between the 50 cent and 20 cent is 2.7. 40 times 2.7 is equal to 108 gram. Okay, in other words, the extra 40, right? The difference in the weight, right, is 108 gram. You understand why? Because you see, the number of, okay, 1 unit is the same, right? So 1 unit 50 cent, 1 unit 50 cent, I minus off. Then the only difference they have is the 40 50 cent coin and 40 20 cent coin. So the difference in weight will be 40 multiplied by the difference of 20 cent and 50 cent coins, the weight. So Helen, right, has actually 108 gram more coins. So that means Ivan coins, right, weight of Ivan coins, right, is just simply 1.134 kilogram, right? It's actually 1134 gram. So it's 1134 gram minus 108. So 1134 minus 108, you have 1026 gram. In kilogram is 1.026 kilogram. So the weight of the mass of Ivan coins is 1.026 kilogram. Okay, you all understand the solution? If you still have queries, right, you can WhatsApp me at 9795 1295, and I'll love to explain further if you need more help in this question. So I hope this solution shed light to parents and students who request for my solution. So I hope this solution finds you well, and all the best to P5 students who are sitting for their final year exam right now, and also their PSLE next year. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.